just
episode number 40. I talk first.
Episode 40. We started recording episode 40 like 30 seconds ago, and it was a pretty good intro, and we just can't repeat it. So you guys will never know how good that intro truly was.
That happens a lot in the world of podcasting. If you guys have ever dipped your big or little, maybe the middle, toe into the deep, deep waters of podcasting, and yeah, you start and then you're like, hey, that wasn't what we wanted. So all of a sudden you restart, and then all of a sudden you become way too obsessed with like 30 seconds that no one's ever going to remember anyways. And the rest of the episode is crap, but you ended up getting a good intro. So you go to bed happy.
Yep. Exactly. It's a flip of a coin. So you got to pick your poison. What do you want to prioritize? A good 30-second intro or a 59-minute, 30-second episode?
Right. Yes.
So
that was some good, quick math right there. That's what you come to us for, folks. Great conversation, quick wit, and good math in the head. Good head math.
On the spot math. Yes, head math. They all the teachers going throughout middle school and high school, they're like, you're going to use this one day. And I didn't up until now. So that was a perfect example of stay in school, kids. Stay in school.
That was it. That was it.
I feel really good about that. Wow. You know what else I feel really good about? Don't say anything derogatory.
Your recent gay marriage to me?
No, I was just thinking of a certain
3i Atlas
phrase. No, certain phrase that we were talking to a fellow friend Kingpin about on Friday, and it kind of wasn't a newly found saying. It's been around for a very long time, but it was kind of one of those things that resurfaced, and it's just goes to show how childish and immature our humor is sometimes.
And shall not be
repeated probably on a podcast episode, just because we like to appeal to the general masses, you know.
These nuts appeal to the general masses. I'm sorry, that was the joke. It was it. Okay, for anyone that was listening that is offended by that, our greatest apologies, but you know, these nuts also get offended. Anyways, I'm done. I'm sorry. It's just it's once you start doing that joke amongst your friends, and yes, we are both we're not crazy people. It's just a super funny joke to do amongst your friends because you get into it and all of a sudden the joke pops up everywhere. You're just like, whoa, I had no idea I could fit this in all this different places. We're going to get off the topic because I'm just going to start going on a roll here in a second if we don't. But great joke. Bring it back. 2025.
Yes. And no matter how old you are, we're 32. We still think it's funny. You think it's like a middle school dude joke, but no, it transcends the test of time.
Yeah. And I agree. I agree with what Chase said. You should agree with me because I agree with Chase, and I just kind of let him think on things, and then I tell people what I think based on what he thinks. It's kind of how it rolls. He delivers it to me. I deliver it to you. And, you know.
There we are. Just that.
These nuts delivered to everyone. All right, I'm done. I'm done.
He did it. He did it.
We did
I was going to say, you know what?
times.
You know what else stands the test of time, I feel like?
What?
And there's some intriguing stuff getting ready to come up. 3i Atlas.
That's
clearly withstood some time. About,
has it been 3 months?
All kinds of different stuff. Well, I mean, considering
how long has it
detecting
been?
It in the first place.
I'm not making a dig at the fact that it hasn't been a bunch of time, because over the time we've known about it, it has consistently come up and there's been more and more updates. But I was just generally wondering when we found out about it like 3 months ago, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Let's use the Japata.
As of October 29th, that is supposedly target day for us to find out if it's an alien. So stay tuned for that. Here in about 10 days, we'll see if our entire lives will have potentially shifted completely.
Well, no. We're not going to find out anything. We're going to find out, no matter what happens, we're going to be told it's X versus Y. And we're going to be told what they want us to know. But the only thing that could change that is if 3i Atlas has its own agency in some way, shape, or form, and it defies, what they're putting on the news stations. So or they're just not going to talk about it at all. And they're going to act like it was never a big deal. No one ever brought it up. Just like, when NASA, because the government's off, 3i Atlas was passing by Mars where we have satellites and we could have looked at it in great detail. But instead, we are squabbling over sending like $10 million for gender transition surgery to Cambodia, which I was there one time. And let me tell you, the lack of transitioning doesn't allow that country to transition into a better time.
Gosh. Hypocrites. It's disgusting. I am so offended.
Yeah. I mean, I go there in my dreams. I astral project
to Cambodia. And you're like, what do the people want?
I can't stop, dude. I can't stop. I can't make that the whole episode. I just want to keep making the joke.
You can do this. I believe in you to not
project these nuts. Okay, I'm done.
All right, last one.
That was the last one, I swear. I'm sorry. That was out of the system. That is the first 6 minutes of the podcast, and it's mentioned at least 6 times. But hey, it's a mixed bag, but we're at the end of the day, you love us and we're great people. But going back to 3i Atlas, you and I talked about this. I recently had seen that Avi Loeb, who is the physicist behind sensationalizing it in the first place, had said that based on his calculations, it seems to be not hollow, but very less dense in the middle of the asteroid. But that is typical for asteroids in general. So could mean something leaning either way. There could be a ship with people from most likely Oregon in there, or it could be an asteroid that's gassing out like I accidentally did at the Spartan race while someone was behind me.
Hey, it happens. But yeah, I think I don't know. And we had this conversation on an earlier episode to where, it was the moon landing, I think, where we were talking about, points for and points against the fact that we went to the moon. But at least in today's time, there are so many independent, like third-party organizations and agencies that have space monitoring that I would hope we would be able to get some more defined answers when this thing passes by versus just solely relying on NASA.
Well,
and that's going to be the kicker.
The thing that I have seen that is the craziest is the fact that, and I think this is intentional. Like, I could almost say with certainty that this is intentional because it plays into things that have already been done and are utilized regularly. But with AI now, it happened like 40 times today. I came by pictures and I was just like, this is real. Wait, is this real? Wait, hold on. Then I look it up. You can't find out. Like, they could put out an actual picture of an alien that they took yesterday, right now. And it would be immediately muddled in the internet so much because people would say it's fake. They'd say it's real. And then independent fact checkers would come in that are experts with cameras and pictures. And even if they verified that it was real, there'd still be enough natural doubt in the situation that people would not buy into it fully. The only people that buy into it fully would be labeled conspiracy theorists and crazy people. And they would release all the information with it having no effect on us because we literally are at the point where we're 1% away from not being able to tell what's real at all.
Yeah, which is horrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. It goes back to the whole Project Bluebeam thing too. How are you going to know? Unless you take an AR and start shooting at something.
Well, that's the thing that I've always wondered about with Project Bluebeam. And that's really where, our podcast jumped from literally 800 followers to, what are we at, 7,000 now?
Almost 7,000. Yep.
And, or at least this was the Instagram, but it was the reel that we had posted talking about Project Bluebeam, the 3D holograms of religious figures or ships. And I've just always thought, like, there's someone out there. Yeah, there's someone out there that's crazy that's built a missile in their garage somewhere that the government doesn't know about, and they would definitely shoot it at it. Like, it'd be if Project Bluebeam was really real or ever had any intentions of being real, it would just be one of those things where like I don't feel like they thought it all the way through, because how would you sustain holograms being,
Right.
you know, impactful once people
Right.
realize that, like, oh, if I throw a rock at this, it goes right through it. Maybe they'd be so high that we couldn't do anything with it. But yeah, I don't know. So 3i
It's
Atlas is going to come by Earth.
Yep, here in about 10 days, so we'll see. Hopefully, if it's legit or not.
Yeah.
Maybe alien, maybe not. But
We'll see
it kind of
something.
feeds perfectly into the rest of what we're going to talk about in episode 40. For as much as Keegan and I love talking conspiracies and aliens and UFO stuff, we have never talked about the phenomenon of crop circles. So we thought, what better way to celebrate episode 40 than to dive into crop circles?
Not literally, because we would just nail the ground and we wouldn't go anywhere. But yes, in terms of
Yes.
talking about it. And we got a couple other topics. I mean, it was funny because you were like, as much as we both love talking about aliens and all this stuff, here's another alien topic.
Here's another alien topic.
Yeah. But no, and this came up because the other day, as we do, Chase and I were having like one of our morning conversations or evening conversations, which didn't happen this morning or yesterday morning. So I don't really know what's going on with Chase. But
Someone was running a Spartan race.
oh, you want me to bring it up and to be my personality here? Let's
I was
take a
waiting
quick
for you to bring
tangent.
it up.
Let's take a quick tangent and then get back to the crop circle. So I'm better than anyone listening to this because I ran 13.1 miles, and I don't know how you feel about that. You should feel as if you need to get out there and do it now, because I'm going to talk about it so much. It's going to be the only thing on your mind. But get this. Not only did I run 13.1 miles, I also did it with 30 obstacles in between those miles on a trail going up and downhill over a bunch of rocks. Saw a couple of animals, rabbits, might have even seen a snake, and did it with a couple friends. But hot dang, was it hard as heck? Yes, but if you have a Spartan race anywhere, and they have it in every state, so I think you definitely do. If you have a Spartan race anywhere around you, I would suggest doing it so much. It was so much fun. You get a free beer at the end. Got a lot of free food. I'm drinking some of the coffee that I had gotten from there. It was instant coffee. You just put the powder in a cup. Really great. Had some pizza afterwards out in the country in Granbury. It was beautiful out. So long story short, when you do something like that, you immediately get this superiority that you carry with you, and you carry into every single conversation. You bring it up to everyone, and if they don't know what it is, you spend about 20 minutes educating them on what it is, how you signed up, how long it took, every obstacle, and then really just how much you're going to start doing this now, and it's going to be just your thing. So that is pretty much why you do anything athletic on the weekends that you do with a group, like a marathon, a half marathon, or the Spartan race. So we did say,
Yep.
oh, at the beginning of it. There was one point when you got to throw a spear. Mine went on the first try. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about that real quick, and I'm willing to take questions and stay on this for the rest of the episode.
Nice. That's how we start our militia.
How?
Spear throws and Spartan race obstacles.
Well, I'm not going to lie, man. Go on.
No, I'll just say we'll create our own modern day Sparta, and our militia will be called the Spartans. So that'd be kind of dope. Because yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want to basically have a modern day King Leonidas, 300 Spartans throwing spears around, except with modern weapons? Not like we're inciting anything here. We're just saying our love for history. The Spartans were kind of dope.
And I'm not going to lie, coming back from the Spartan race, I almost felt like it was this serendipitous situation where I was being called to action, because as I was coming back, I drove through a No Kings protest. And I was just like, it was in downtown Fort Worth. And I was just like, maybe I should get out and ask them what they're, what was the question he asked? I should scream, "This is Sparta," or "This is the US," and kick someone square in the chest. Now, to not politically divide our podcast, even though I think you guys know where we lean, I'm not going to get into the details of anything that happened after that. But I drove through the race, or not the race, the political event, and was very inspired to speak my opinion. But I figured I might go viral for the wrong reasons if I got out and did that. So Spartan race, all jokes aside, like if anyone's thinking about doing something like that, go out there and do it, because not only can you do it, it's easier than you think. And when you get through something like that and you look yourself in the face and you're like, that was really hard and I just did it, and you do it with other people, there's just a sense of joy and elation that you don't get from a lot of other activities or anything of the sort. So I would suggest spending the money, going to do it with some friends, make it a hobby, make it a habit. It's a really good time. So yeah, we weren't going to go the episode without talking about the fact that I had ran 13.1 miles with 30 obstacles, and essentially I'm better than you.
And you're basically a Spartan now. I mean, that was the crucible that you had to go through to become a Spartan.
I'm waiting on my sword, my chainmail, and my helmet in the mail, and I'm going to go to war. I'm just going to start it with my neighbors, probably people that don't text me back. So anyways, what are we talking about? Crop circles.
Yes, crop circles. Interestingly enough, crop circle reports, you kind of sit there and think, oh, what is it? I'm blanking on the name. Roswell, the first downed UFO, that was back in the late 40s, early 50s, that this whole phenomenon kind of simultaneously started with the whole UFO phenomenon, right? But crazy enough, crop circles are actually dated back centuries and centuries and centuries ago, all the way back to about 1678. So kind of crazy that it is not just a modern day phenomenon. These things go back hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of interesting stuff. And Keegan and I were talking offline about this a couple days ago, and just, I don't know, the attention to detail and just how a lot of these massive crop circles are done literally overnight in a short amount of time. And, the speculation and of course, the debate going back and forth is, oh, it's totally humans. Humans can do that. That's easy. But, there's also the other side where it's maybe not humans. Maybe it's extraterrestrial. And, I don't know. There's a lot of interesting accounts that we'll process through and talk through. Some intriguing ones, at least. And I don't know. It's really just interesting to dive into, because there's a lot of crop circles that have been replicated by humans. But at the same time, there's some that are just so expansive and massive that they literally just pop up overnight. And it's kind of hard to believe that a big group of humans, especially with the techniques we've done to replicate said crop circles in the past, it'd be really hard to do. So I don't know.
Well, hold
on.
That's not fair to the audience. Let's, instead of saying all the stuff that they do to replicate, let's dive into it. So let's let
that's what I'm saying. I'm not giving a in-depth detail yet.
Is that what you're saying, though?
Level. That is
what I'm saying. Are you sure that's what you're saying?
Yes.
I'm right here. I don't know if you're saying that.
Oh, I'm saying that. I'm saying
Believe it
right now.
Okay. So let me see. So, I mean, I know. Hold on. Fill me some white space real quick while I type in this question. Give them a quick song and dance.
Quick song and dance. All right, this is called the Hokey Pokey. You turn yourself around and then lead right into the chicken dance. We'll just give some interesting kind of background, scientific explanations, and then a potential debunking process. So all crop circles align with human causation. Teams working at night using wooden planks for flattening, GPS for precision, sometimes microwaves to bend stems without breaking them, creating the bent not broken effect once cited as proof
Wait,
of
say it again.
anomalies.
What would create a bent not broken?
If they use microwaves to be able to change kind of that not genetic compound, but just the makeup of the stems in order to bend it without fully breaking them. Because audience, for those of you that don't know much about crop circles, not like we're experts by any means, but what makes it intriguing is the crops. They are perfectly bent over, the stalks are, and they're not broken. They are perfectly bent without showing like any significant signs of damage, tears, legitimate just snapping in half. So, all that to say, the scientific explanation from a human's perspective is using wooden planks to basically bend over and stomp into the ground these stalks, as well as using GPS for precision, but then using microwaves to actually be able to bend the stalks without breaking them.
Microwaves? That
Microwaves.
would be. It's not like microwave anything else. It's just
I'm
microwaves.
assuming like some like being able to emit microwaves
Oh,
to be able to soften the stalks to allow for them to be bent.
so someone's not like plugging their microwave in with an extension cord and walking
Uh,
out to a
uh,
cornfield with it.
Probably not. Probably not. But
You don't know
couple
that.
extra. You're right. We don't. Um, we're just here to analyze. But natural theories, interestingly enough, debunked for complex forms. So early ideas included whirlwinds, dust devils, or even plasma vortices.
Wait, what's a
These
plasma vortice?
It's Madine's electromagneto hydrodynamic model. We can dive
So
more
it's an
into that.
X-Men.
Yes, Magneto
Okay.
is real. Um, so more natural explanations as to how crop circles form. These explain rare, simple circles, but fail to account for the actual geometric precision behind crop circles that have been found. Um, There's a 2009 Tasmanian case that involved wallabies creating loops in opium poppy fields after eating the plants. It's kind of, comical, humorous, but totally unrelated to the actual geometrical pattern. So people are trying to brush it away to like it's a natural thing. Winds totally did this, but that does
Ooh,
not account for the actual geometric precision that is in these designs. Of course, there's been actual individuals that have admitted to making crop circles. Um, Bauer and
psyop.
Chorley, I think. Yeah, yeah, totally. Supposedly one of the
100%
more,
psyop.
yeah, individuals, I mean, admitting to it in past, and of course, could totally be a psyop. It could be anything.
No, I mean
Um,
psyop in terms of they. And I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm reading some information over here as well. One thing you pointed out is that some of these are extremely large and extremely complex, and they're done overnight. So,
yeah,
what's the easiest way to get people to like all the people who immediately believe something once their confirmation bias is given they're confirming information is some farmer that they pay a bunch of money to go out and go, I did it. That was actually me. It was a joke, but yeah, go on because it obviously, I think that'd be the easiest part of a psyop to perform. Like we have these things we can't explain, but they are in people's cornfields. You own corn. Can you walk out there and tell people you did it? We'll give you 50
yeah,
grand.
legitimately. I would not be shocked.
Yeah.
All the more reason I would tend to believe the opposite, that it wouldn't be humans just because governments around the world have been prone to doing stuff like that. Not necessarily just specifically for crop circles, but just in general. Um, and of course, the last kind of point for the natural side is pseudoscience claims. Proponents cite anomalous radiation, magnetic anomalies, or even cellular changes in plants, but studies are criticized as flawed or unpredictable. Go figure, as no peer reviewed evidence supports non human origins, per that side. But then there's the fringe theories and cultural impacts regarding the actual extraterrestrial side of crop circle creation. Um,
Okay.
and that one's pretty self explanatory. Um, of course, people claim UFOs are extra Dimensional. That's interesting. I've never seen that. It's not extraterrestrial, it's
Well,
extra dimensional beings.
well, we've talked about that multiple times in terms of
We have.
extraterrestrial, regardless of whether they're from another planet or not, being most related to extra dimensional because they have the ability to phase into and out of one of them, and that's why they can, in a lot of ways, appear and disappear so quickly, and make us think that we're crazy. But yeah, I mean, we've extra dimensional has been something. Not that you were saying it wasn't, but we've introduced that pretty heavily.
Yes, we have. So, along with that argument or point, individuals basically reference UFOs or extra dimensional beings create these crop circles as warnings about either climate change, nuclear war, or spiritual evolution. A 2020, and this is the first time I'm hearing about this
Vote
one.
yes for the big green bill.
Yeah. A 2020 coronavirus shaped circle sparked COVID theories. New
Yeah.
Age views link them to ley lines or collective consciousness with patterns echoing fractals in nature, e.g., i.e., snowflakes. Man, that is, I mean,
A lot of
obviously,
snowflakes out there believing in the government that's going to help them.
yeah,
Snowflakes, it's not.
yeah,
Anyways, back to crop circles.
yes.
Um,
And interestingly enough, of course, they mentioned government psyop.
More like government cry up. Anyways, from comedy back to seriousness. So one of the things that I was, as Chase was spitting wisdom at you like it tastes bad. I was also looking up some stuff about crop sarkels, and the second, so because one of the challenges of a podcast when you are a little bit of a procrastinator like Chase and I, where you just have a bunch of other things going on that you probably could have gotten out of the way if you planned better, but you choose not to. When we're going through these topics, we want to get into it, but not so into it that it alienates people to where, like, we're talking about things that are just, it's like a biologist talking about some really hardcore biology versus explaining it in layman's terms. So it's kind of the
Yeah.
battle you fight on a podcast. You want to get into it enough to make it interesting, but not into it so much that it makes it uninteresting. So I was looking up the major disputes and controversies around crop circles, because that is really what it's kind of tie all back to at the end of the day, whatever we bring up about them. And the second one, which I talked about a second ago, was the complexity and speed of creation. So some formations are extremely large and claimed to have appeared in short time windows, overnight or even within hours, which raises suspicion. How could humans do it so fast and without leaving visible traces? I think that is probably one of the biggest ones to me, because think about it not being there one day and then it's there the next day, but it's a massive, 300-yard geometrical image that's near perfect in measurement and everything, and there's no path showing where a vehicle came in. So that
Yep.
right there, that's wild. Second thing is technical questions. What tools, techniques were used? For example, use of GPS, lasers, as you had said, microwaves have been speculated. One article notes some crop circle artists might use microwaves, magnetrons, to bend stalks rather than break them. I love how when, I will, if any part of this podcast gets popular on this specific episode, I will be attacked for this. But I love how when science starts to be pressured in terms of, like, we don't have the answer for that, but all of this stuff leading up to this makes us believe that this can't be the answer. They start to use the God of the gaps argument.
Mm.
Essentially, they're like, but science is their God. So they're like, oh, it's definitely obvious. We get what you're saying, but maybe someone used magnetrons to, they had a super powerful microwave on a farm out there, and were able to go out to their field at 3 a.m. when their family was asleep, and they're probably gonna have to get up in a couple hours and make this 300-yard insanely accurate depiction of a complex 3D geometrical 2D image of a very complex 3D geometric conception. And it's like when science starts to get pushed in one direction in terms of like, hey, you might not have an answer for this, their answers become like a person who believes in God saying, oh, it must have just been God. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like they start getting to where it's like that's really what you would bring to the table to make an argument. The fact that crop circle artists might use microwaves to bend stalks rather than break them. Okay, where do they
Well,
get this technology? What is like? That's a very lofty thing to throw out there.
and think about that too, like using whether it's a handheld device, it would have to be able to like a microwave wand where you sit there and you wand it over, waft it over. Think
Yeah.
about how long that would take. And you're
Oh,
talking, even if you had a group of 20 guys and every single one had a microwave device to be able to go heat up stocks to be able to bend them without breaking them, so perfectly get everything lined up and geometrically perfect in a matter of a couple hours. Okay, sure. That makes total sense. All the while not leaving any trace of evidence that you were ever there in the first place. Got it.
and then like not only that, like you have like it's one of those things where it's like if they were like oh well, an F-35 engine, if put in the right circumstances, could also do this. They might be using F-35 engines. Okay, then you then have to justify where the heck someone would get an F-35 engine. Like it's you
Right.
you you throw this. Hold up, but I'm looking it up right now. What would be an example of this microwave?
Just go. I'm looking for a
Chat
microwave device to
GPT,
help
don't let
me.
me down.
I would like to purchase a microwave device to help me create crop circles.
They're like, oh,
Actually,
that's actually back on aisle 17, right next
it's
to the
actually
actual microwaves.
out of stock on Amazon. Dang.
Hold on. This is going the exact direction I thought it would be. I thought it would be going. Some crop circle researchers and physicists have hypothesized that the stalk bending, particularly at the node, seems in certain formations could result from brief, localized heating, possibly from microwave radiation or a similar energy source, instead of mechanical flattening by boards or rollers. Mechanism as proposed. A short, intense microwave burst heats the moisture inside the plant nodes, the knuckles, which are the knuckles of the stalk of whatever it is. The water inside the cells rapidly expands, softening and bending the node outward. Plant folds over without snapping, then cools, holding the new shape. This is why, in some examples, stalks are bent and swollen but not broken, sometimes with blown node cavities, small holes from steam expansion. Hold on. He argued that some crop circles showed heat-induced wall expansion consistent with rapid heat exposure. He also reported expulsion cavities. Okay. Um, Microwave radiation. Hold on. Man, that's just wild. Before you go, I apologize. It's essentially saying like it's exactly where I thought it was going in terms of yes, this could technically do that, but we then can't explain where they would get this type of energy. That's a massive amount of energy that would be needed to do that in a big field. The trace of evidence, no measurable residual radiation or burn pattern has ever been documented. Okay,
I was going to say, yep.
alternate explanations. Node bending can occur naturally from gravitropism or phototropism, plants' natural tendency to bend toward light after mechanical flattening. In the dark, they're going to bend towards light in the dark.
Especially
Moisture
in that
and
short time frame.
yeah, within an hour. Moisture and mechanical stress, dew plus weight. So the dew from the morning is going to cause the stalks to fall in a perfect geometrical pattern that's hundreds of
Mm.
yards wide.
Hmm.
Thermal expansion from sunlight after damage. That's what I was going to say at the end of the day, honestly. Um, once controlled studies in the 2000s reproduced bent elongated nodes without microwaves, just from physical flattening followed by plant regrowth. So a really long process. And last thing, I'll pass it to you. Um, Reproduction experiments. Researchers trying to replicate crop circle effects have used microwave magnetrons repurposed from industrial or radar units. Where's someone in the country going to get that? Handheld microwave guns similar to radar-based heating tools. Microwave waveguides mounted on drones or tripods. Experimental only in parentheses. Results. Small-scale samples can show bending without breaking, but require precise power tuning. Too much burns, too little does nothing. No one has demonstrated such a system operating on field scale under realistic conditions.
Yeah.
So it not only can we not recreate it, the materials and situational know-how and general timeline that would need to be necessary for it to be real. I mean, not for that to be a plausible answer is like, that's where we start creating a bunch of imaginary things to suffice this story that we think is real. That's like the complete inverse of, where science is trying to say it was science, but they start becoming like they're talking about it being aliens just to try to suffice that they think it's science. So I'm getting passionate about this. This is firing me up.
No, I think it's another perfect example of mainstream science, just like mainstream archaeology. The money talks, and whoever is forking the money out gets to make the decisions. And as to what's talked about, what's researched, what's looked into, and all that stuff. And I think this is a good example of that other forms or opinions or perspectives of honestly just sitting here talking about how insane it would be for a human or a group of people to be able to get access to this technology to go and create crop circles and to not leave behind any evidence to make it so perfect, doing this in a matter of couple hours on the large scale that we've talked about. Mainstream science is like, nope, it's humans did this, don't ask other questions. Like, to me, I find it's just, I don't know, it's even more absurd and ridiculous to not give any other credence to potentially something else did it, and the crazy thing is, it's not just in the US, it's not just in England, it's happened all over the entire world, in more rural parts of the entire world too. So you're telling me individuals that are just hanging out in, random part of Australia have access and can just go get this technology, be like, let's go create a crop circle tonight. You guys down? To me, that seems less feasible than potentially other interpretations. And just to add on to your points that you've made so far too, that would account for it maybe being more extraterrestrial. The whole bent not broken stems, the speed of the creation, adding on to your points, there's actually no physical evidence of humans doing it. Some circles literally lack visible footprints, tool marks, or other signs of actual human activity, further leading to the fact of claims that it is related to some sort of aerial or extraterrestrial creation. Additionally, reports of electromagnetic interference, compass malfunctions, or residual radiation in circles are cited as evidence of supposed alien technology. And some claim UFO sightings correlate with certain circle appearances too. So it's not just like, oh, we saw a crop circle, but we didn't see anything else. Some crop circles, individuals saw actual UFOs in that vicinity as well. Adding to that, symbolic messages, designs resembling astronomical patterns, sacred geometry, or alleged warnings, which is crazy. The 2020 coronavirus circle that popped up are interpreted as potential alien attempts to communicate about humanity's future or even cosmic events. And then one of the last ones, the global distribution. These things have popped up everywhere across the entire world. Circles appearing worldwide, England, the US, Australia, often near, and here's the interesting part, ancient sites like Stonehenge suggest a potential intentional, purposeful, non human intelligence targeting significant locations to maybe bring attention to whatever they're trying to communicate in the first place.
Well, the thing that sells it for me, that I would be I would be at the store, and if you gave me this pitch, I'd say all the other doubts in my mind are pretty much satiated. Because, you know, I think you just pointed it out, one of the most significant parts of these, outside of the fact of how they're made, outside of how they've shown up all over the world, outside of how it's indescribable how quickly they show up, is the precision of what they are. I mean, the precision of how they're made, obviously the stalks, but also what they are, like how significant the actual designs are. So the Julia set fractal. This is Stonehenge, 1996. What it looked like: a massive spiral made of 151. That's 151. Think of how long that would take. No paths in or out of the field. Like, think of how many people that would take. Think of the coordination you would need. And here's the word: arranged in logarithmic fractal pattern resembling a mathematical Julia set, which is a complex number fractal function. And it said 151 perfect circles, meaning all of it was distance between the actual circles themselves. Precision, nearly 900 feet long and aligned symmetrically. Each smaller circle decreased in size in mathematically consisting ratios, not approximate. That right there should be world news that never goes away, because that we can barely do that today with anything that we actually have. Like, that has to be done by machines, because we can't, it's just impossible to be that precise. Surveyors found the spacing between circles deviated by less than a few inches across hundreds of feet. Significance: the Julia set comes from chaos theory, a fractal structure found in nature, like coastlines and clouds. To many, it symbolized order in chaos, or mathematical fingerprint, or the mathematical fingerprint of creation. To skeptics, it showed the incredible planning ability. Oh my gosh, of circle making teams, because that degree of precision means pre-drawing on a grid or using rope length calculated to the inch. Like what? Like, who? How is there no one person whose wife was like, where are you going? And then she finds out and looks at their messages or their emails or whatever it might be, and then says like, oh, you went out, and like, what? How is there no leak of how many people that would take to like figure out about the plans? Another one, the triple Julia or galaxy spiral, a breathtaking 900-foot pattern with 409 circles, creating a triple armed spiral resembling a galaxy, one of the largest and most complex formations ever recorded. Precision: the outer arcs aligned with less than a 6-inch variance around a 300-meter radius. The design showed radial and angular symmetry accurate to about 0.3, the kind of precision surveyors achieve using laser rangefinders or GPS. Significance: seen as a cosmic symbol, 3 arms representing motion, energy, and even the Trinity in spiritual interpretations. Mathematically, it shows properties of polar coordinate systems, where radius and angle combine in a formula to generate smooth logarithmic spirals. For believers, it was too perfect to be man-made. For skeptics, it's the magnum opus of circle art teams using GPS mapping. Gosh, man, that is like that situation where it's just like, okay, we have nothing to explain it or criticize it, so we're just going to slap something on it and say it must be this super top secret crop circle team that meets at night and goes out to do this together on a whim.
Well, and I have a question. Okay, that's great. It's modern day technology. They use GPS programs for planning. What about the crop circles that were done back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s? They didn't have access to all that stuff. So how'd they do that so perfectly?
I mean, are there ones from then? Look, I want to see if
there's accounts that go back hundreds of years.
Well, I want to see if there's ones that are as perfect as the ones we're talking about, because that could be a major indicator of like, hey, okay, maybe there are people doing something. Because if they're really bad back then, and as we have technology, they get way better, that would be an indicator that, they're not real. But I would like to see.
So Yeah, I mean, there were multiple reports in the 1960s in Australia, the late 1970s. Crop circles surge in number in southern England. The 80s or 1980s to 1990s, theories started going all over the place. And then 2000s to present, um, annual appearances. There were 30 plus appearances in Britain yearly. Specifically, 80% of those 30, so the majority of them were in Wiltshire, England. A lot of these were tied to sacred sites like Stonehenge. So, yes, there were crop circles and instances preceding the 2000s, which, I mean, realistically, too, though, GPS technology didn't really get as good as it is today. And it didn't really start until what, 2010s ish? I mean, you're talking complex hardware technology to plan crop circles like this. And even in the early 2000s, you're talking a very sophisticated organization that's sitting here doing this stuff. And for what?
And I think this is part of the psyop, because now I'm like, okay, so the Julia set, the first one I had talked about. So I was looking up some information about it. I was like, okay, what's the strongest evidence against it? Because I just can't myself think of something that would naturally explain this away. So here we go. Witness accounts conflict and are unverified. The famous story, the claim, it appeared in full daylight near Stonehenge, and this is the one that I think you were referencing, or at least one of them, reportedly within 45 minutes, so fast and perfect that no one could have made it unseen. Okay, so evidence and reasoning against the mystery. Witness accounts conflict and are unverified. The famous story comes from a pilot who claimed to see the field empty on one pass and complete on his next, about 45 minutes later. But there are no timestamp photos or radar records to verify the exact interval, only recollections. Researchers later found that the formation likely existed hours earlier that morning, meaning it appeared instantly. Meaning the it appeared instantly story might be an artifact of timing. No independent evidence supports the notion that it materialized in under an hour. Multiple locals had seen activity near the field that morning. But this is the one that stuck out to me, that kills me. The known hoaxer circle makers of that area, a group called Circle Makers Inc., led by artists like John Lundberg and Rod Dickinson. Think of how many jokes you could make with that. Rod Dickinson. My gosh, his entire life.
It almost makes you think, what if that person's an actual like psyop? What if that's a total made up
They
phony
just
name?
gave him
It's
like
like
a
John
funny
Smith.
dumb name. Yeah. Or no, they gave him just like a funny name, so every time they heard it, they're like, Rod Dickinson.
Yeah, for real.
But had already Rod Dickinson. Rod Dickinson and his crew with John Lundberg had already publicly demonstrated making highly complex fractal style formations at the time. We're about to dive into that. In later interviews, Dickinson strongly implied his team made the Stonehenge Julia set and said that they spent around 2.5 to 3 hours before dawn using surveyor stakes, ropes, and a pre-map plan. We used a plastic polar coordinate mapping system with a central stake and lengths of rope to mark each of the 151 circles. It's not as hard as people think when you're organized. Rod Dickinson. The geometry. Hold on. Okay, the geometry matches rope and stake construction. Engineers who surveyed the site found the pattern fit perfect polar coordinate grid, one central pivot, concentric spacing that followed rope length, not random distances. The exact spacing increments corresponded to the whole number rope segments, which is the telltale signature of human plotting. Oh, my confidence is starting to go down. 4, no physical anomalies in plants or soil. Multiple teams sampled the flattened barley. There were no magnetic or microwave traces, just plants bent by mechanical pressure, some broken, some regrown. That rules out electromagnetic or plasma explanations. And 5, video proof of similar creations. Just 2 months later, BBC crew filmed the same circle-making team creating another massive formation overnight, captured start to finish. It was comparably large and equally geometrically precise. That single demonstration showed conclusively that humans could produce that level of complexity in one night using basic tools and planning. It's annoying. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I think it's just like mainstream archaeology. There's a lot of credence that individuals have put behind the aspect of, like, Egypt. Egypt is a perfect example. I think of the pyramids, right? Historically, we've been told the narrative that, I'm blanking on his name, Zawi, um, the mainstream Egyptian archaeologist guy who basically has spearheaded the explanation of this is how the pyramids were built,
Yeah.
was on Rogan within the last couple months or so. But his whole reasoning is it was a national project. That's how they got built. That's how they moved thousands and thousands and thousands of tons worth of blocks miles and miles and miles and miles away from quarries, because they just figured it out. It was just a national project. But they didn't explain exactly how, which you look at others' perspectives like Graham Hancock and all these individuals that are not part of the mainstream archaeology or archaeological society. They're like, well, what if? What if before a major cataclysm or catastrophic event that there were ancient civilizations and ancient cultures that had access to technology where they could do stuff like this? And it almost makes more sense than what we're being fed with the mainstream. It's like, oh, it's just a national project. They figured it out. Okay, but how did they do it? I think it's the same thing to go along with crop circles. I think we are pushed a certain narrative. Yes, of course, humans can make crop circles. Great. But at the same time, there's a lot of other factors I think that need to be asked and need to come into play in order to fully solidify and kind of entice me to believe that humans created every single crop circle that has ever been known to man. I don't know. To me, there's not enough that has won me over to say, it was all human planned and human done, human created, all this stuff. I think, I don't know, mainstream archaeology, mainstream science, mainstream whoever, they have there's certain dictations that they put forth to make to try to brush things under the rug so they don't have to continue talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I also don't want us to do that I'm not saying you're doing, but I have a tendency to do is, like, when I start hearing news contrary to what I want to believe, I start just trying to talk bad about that news. I'm just like, you know what?
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
that is a good argument, but this and this and this. So I want to go out there and say that not only have there been people caught, like the circle makers, and I'm pretty sure they came out and said it themselves, but there's been people caught faking this. There's been multiple instances showing that people in some cases could make something like this. So it's very possible that every crop circle ever made is completely fake and it's just a joke that's been played on us for a long time. But so, I mean, I'm looking up kind of like what are the most convincing cases.
Yep.
And the most convincing case ever is one that we've already talked about a little bit, but it's the Milk Hill Formation, aka the Milk Hill Galaxy, the Triple Julia set, or simply the one we just talked about, the 409 Circle Formation. Overview. Roughly 787 feet across, the largest and most complex ever recorded. It's in remote hills in Wiltshire. Design three immense spiral arms, each made of dozens of precisely scaled circles, 409 circles in total. This was in August 12th through 13th in 2001. Hold on. Oh, right before 9/11. Discovery local farmer found it at dawn. First photographs taken by pilot Steve Alexander that morning. Okay, the geometry and scale. Every arm follows an exact logarithmic spiral, a curve found in galaxies, hurricanes, and seashells. The angular accuracy within 0.3 between corresponding arcs. Radial error margin less than plus or minus 6 inches across hundreds of feet. Circularity 99.9% round, better than many machine-made plots.
Wow.
The formation covered the equivalent of 7 football fields of barley on sloping, uneven ground. That right there. That I think is like, we could go back to saying that can the circle makers do it? Yes. But I even in a previous thing addressing this, it said that this one, if it was made by humans, would mark the pinnacle of anything ever made by humans in terms of how precise it was. And the fact that it just said it's on uneven ground, how much that would throw off the mathematics in it in terms of how much you would have to account for to still make those circles perfect or as close to perfect as possible. That's wild. All right, and I'll quickly go through these and throw the ball back at you. The mystery factor, scale and terrain. It wasn't on flat land. It spanned a steep, uneven hill with variable slope angles. Achieving correct proportions required continuous recalculation of radius and angle. Speed of creation. No eyewitnesses saw construction despite good visibility and local watchers. The area is famous for circle tourists. Estimated time needed for humans with equipment, 10 to 15 hours minimum. The field was pristine the day before the formation was complete at sunrise. Complex structure contains fractal recursion, repeated ratios at multiple scales. All 3 spirals share a common center and proportional scaling, impossible to quote unquote eyeball. No obvious entry traces. Aerial photos show only 2 tram lines, tractor paths with footprints, far fewer than expected for a 400-foot circle human project. Crops in circles were bent uniformly, not broken. Meteorological coincidence. The night before were localized electrical storms and measurable electromagnetic field fluctuations reported by local researchers, though correlation does not equal causation. And then pretty much why it stands out. Let me see if I can just get to the point here. Milk Hill remains the most ambitious and visually flawless example of circle making ever recorded. No conclusive documentation of its creation exists. So the paradox is this. Every element of Milk Hill can be explained by human geometry, teamwork, and planning, but no one ever took credit. No one was seen as the size, symmetry, and location make it feel superhuman. That tension, technical plausibility versus practical invisibility, is why it's still cited as the strongest mystery case.
Kind of one of those you just throw your arms up and you're like, you gotta wonder. Like, huh, interesting. You want me to drop another one on you?
Drop it on me.
So, one crop circle relating to the Arecibo message. So, I'll give a little bit of background as to what the Arecibo message was, because there was a crop circle that was formed in response to the Arecibo message. So in 1974, the Arecibo radio telescope in Puerto Rico transmitted a binary encoded message into space toward the globular cluster M13, about 25,000 light years away. Designed by Frank Drake, Carl Sagan, and others.
What you're talking about.
The message was a 1,679-bit signal, a product of 2 prime numbers, 23 and 73, intended to demonstrate human intelligence to potential extraterrestrial civilizations. So, content, when decoded into a 23 by 73 grid, the message formed a pictogram containing the numbers 1 through 10 in binary, atomic numbers of life, essential elements, hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and phosphorus, DNA structure, a human figure, Earth's population, and the average human height, a diagram of the solar system highlighting Earth, and then a schematic of the Arecibo telescope itself. So obviously, general purpose was just a gesture to show humanity's scientific capabilities to whatever's out there, if there's anything out there. Then came 2001. The Chilbolton Arecibo Reply crop circle discovered August 19th, 2001. It was discovered in a wheat field near the Chilbolton Observatory in Hampshire, England. So, interestingly enough, two crop circle formations appeared. One was a face resembling a humanoid or an alien, formed in a pixelated grayscale like pattern. And then number
what
two,
is this called again? I'm sorry. You said it was called
it's
what?
the ARECIBO reply crop circle. And then number two, additionally to the face, was a rectangular grid mimicking the Arecibo messages 23 by 73 format, located about 200 meters away from the crop circled face. So that crop circle came back, perfectly depicted the Arecibo message. Details of the reply. So the crop circle grid closely resembled the Arecibo message, but with key differences. Some of the elements included silicon, atomic number 14, alongside the original elements suggesting silicon-based life. DNA showed a different DNA structure with an additional strand or altered nucleotide count. Human figure replaced with a shorter, larger headed figure interpreted as an alien-like being. The population indicated a different population number. Solar system highlighted 3 planets instead of one Earth, possibly suggesting a different planetary system. And real quick, this goes back to the Aborigines story. Remember hundreds of years ago in Australia? They had cave paintings of a tri-star planetary system out in the Alpha Centauri system. So what if it's coming from that same place? And then the transmitter replaced the Arecibo telescope with a complex pattern resembling a previous crop circle design from 2000 at the same location, Chilbolton, interpreted as a depiction of the signal's origin or a crop circle making tool. So overall, why it's been super famous, it's celebrated for its apparent response to a human signal sent 27 years earlier into deep interstellar space, raising questions about whether it could be an extraterrestrial communication. Again, if it's just a hoax, someone messing with people, but its precision, complexity, and then kind of just the general theme around it, and the connection to the 1974 message stunned researchers. So,
you said it was also 27 years after, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if let me just see. The response was 27 years after. Is that the right amount of time it would take to for the info to travel? And I've got some other things. And one of the things that, so I was actually reading about that one just the other day when we had talked about wanting to talk about this on the podcast, and I looked into it. And not only that it's literally the exact same message in the exact same way with just their information versus ours. It's like as if you wrote your address. So, and they said that, we said on ours, carbon is the base chemical or the base, what is it called? The base
one of the big chemical makeups of
elements,
DNA.
the base elements for all life on Earth. They said silicon is the base element for their life, which is very interesting because if you really want to go really crazy, the aliens they depicted were gray aliens, and from that similar star system, there is a story amongst the lore of aliens in general that there are 3 stars in that star system. One of them is extremely hostile, one of them is a created species, and the other one is not hostile. But the created species are the grays. They were created by another species essentially as a slave race that eventually broke out and rebelled and created their own race. But the biggest thing is they can't naturally reproduce. They have to replicate through and there's no sexual reproduction. It's like putting it into a petri dish and growing it, like replicating it like that. And silicon would be probably one of the materials you would use That's actually a guarantee in regards to trying to create artificial life.
Yeah.
So, and hold on. So in terms of the time, the Arecibo telescope transmitted the message on November 16, 1974, at a frequency of 2,380 megahertz. It was beamed towards the globular star M13, globular star cluster in M13 in Hercules, about 25,000 light years away. Radio waves move at the speed of light, so the signal will reach M13. 25,000 years from now. Okay, hold on. What a reply time would look like if some civilization at M13 received and instantly sent a response back at the same speed. 25,000 years there, 25,000 years here. That'd be a 50,000 year turnaround. So an authentic answer could not possibly arrive 27 years later. The 27 years is just the time between the 1974 broadcast and the 2001 Chilbolton formation. What that tells us, the 27-year gap is purely symbolic, not physical. The pattern was designed by someone who knew about the 1974 Arecibo message and chose to mirror it on Earth near another radio dish to create a responsive narrative. There's no radio transmission involved. It just flattened wheat arranged in binary. So hold on. And there was one thing I was going into before this. So I wanted to see the evidence and reasoning against a non-human origin for this one.
So while you're looking that up, I was going to say, as an extra account to that, I was looking up the general time frame as to some complex design like that showing up, because it was two different designs, the face and then the grid, right? So individuals, multiple farmers, multiple local residents, eyewitness accounts testified or gave their account that that design was not there on August 19th or 18th, but then it was there August 19th. So in a window of less than 12 hours, that was done to that degree. And interestingly enough, those farmers and local residents reported no signs of the formations, yes, prior or being there the prior day, and no human activity, i.e., lights, noises, or tracks, was noted overnight. Where those two designs were found the next day. So that's interesting. And they're talking hundreds of precisely flattened areas forming a 23 by 73 grid along with the detailed face. And that just adds to the further intrigue and questions as to, okay, well, if no reports of individuals were there overnight, then what happened?
I hate it when I look at the evidence against something because, it is sometimes convincing. And we'll go through this real quick. Oh, she's a pretty girl. She's down there barking in her sleep. She's my baby girl. She's my Bristol. That's my dog. Evidence and reasoning against a non-human origin, ease of binary construction. The entire design is essentially a bitmap image. Each square represents a 1 or 0. Anyone with the original 1974 diagram and a basic computer could invert the 0-1 cells and plot a new pattern. Surveying the grid on a field is straightforward. Okay, so they're essentially saying it's not that hard to figure out. Proximity to roads in town. The Chilbolton Observatory is not an isolated government facility. It's an open farmland near public road and housing. Anyone could have access to these fields without notice. Farmers later reported vehicle tracks leading to the site. Known local circle making groups by 2001, Circle Makers Incorporated, and others were operating extensively in Hampshire and Wiltshire. Their trademark pop culture or scientific theme formations. The Arecibo reply fits that perfectly, a high concept parody of human communication. One of the group's associates under anonymity later said they created an observatory related installation that summer but declined to name it. Timing and media pattern. It appeared shortly after heavy media coverage of the SETI home project. Circle makers are known to release new designs in sync with current events for maximum publicity. Design artifacts reveal human plotting. High-resolution photos show slight, irregular pixel edges where boards overlapped. Non-uniform shading caused by multiple human passes, not energy discharge. A consistent left-to-right flattening bias expected if one crew member stomped row by row. Done drone era measurements show some cells misaligned by 2 to 3 inches, negligible visually, but diagnostic of manual layout, not electromagnetic perfection. All right, last ones. No physical or biological anomalies. Essentially, there's nothing in the soil, or there's no signs of electromagnetic whatever. Context of the face formation. The adjacent face image uses dot matrix halftone shading, a digital art technique first demonstrated by circle makers in 1999. It's literally the same pixel style, standing crop dots forming tonal gradients, which strongly indicates the same human authorship.
And just to add on to that, the debunking status for that specific Arecibo reply, there's been no conclusivity that it has been officially debunked. Skepticism still is winning out, basically. And as of now, the current view for said crop circle design, the absence of a confirmed hoaxer keeps this case open for believers. But the scientific community, of course, leans toward human creation due to the history of hoaxes and the lack of verifiable anomalies. So to this day, they're not like, oh no, for sure, humans did this. I don't know. It just adds to the mystery of we just don't know. And again, audience, like we've done with a lot of things we've talked about on here, we're not saying it is, we're not saying it isn't, because we know some individuals like to jump the gun and sit there and be like, you said this, without listening to the whole episode. So listen to the whole episode. We're not saying it is, we're not saying it isn't. We're just providing you with some really interesting accounts, providing both sides of information, whether it is or isn't, whether it's human, whether it's extraterrestrial. We're not saying one definite side. We're just presenting, hopefully non-biasedly, both sides to just provide some interesting information. But to this day, I just find it interesting that there is no confirmed case or resolution to that crop circle.
And our sources, I will cite them right now. You cannot dispute this. Our sources are trust me, bro. And bro, really, trust me. Those are the two most credible sources that we have. Yep. If you don't believe those, then you don't trust us, which is on you. But last thing I'll say, and then we probably got to wrap her up. Because I'm just like, what still feels I'm trying to understand, what is the hardest thing to dispute about crop circles? Where can we latch on? Because obviously, Chase and I lean in the direction of we would like it to be true. We're not saying it is. Or inherently it is not. We are impartial. We know what we would like, but we're always just going to present it as it is, give our opinions on it, and leave it at that. But a scale and precision in certain night formations, some massive multi-100-foot patterns like the one we had talked about, Milk Hill 2001, the Stonehenge Julia set, displayed geometric perfection that seems to be barely possible to execute in a single night without detection. The key difficulty isn't the math, it's the logistics. Remote hillsides, no light pollution allowance, no known vehicles or footprints, finished before dawn in hours. Every known circle-making method could do it, but few teams have demonstrated it at that level under similar constraints. Why it resists debunking? We know how it could be done. We've just never caught or filmed a team actually doing it at that monumental scale in one go, undetected. The second is B, mathematical encodings and fractals. This is one that stands out to me the most. Some formations encode genuine mathematical constructs. Pi, Euler's identity, Julia, and the Mandelbrot sets, etc. The ratios and geometry check out. To skeptics, this just shows human artistry. To believers, it's too advanced for vandals with planks. Why it resists closure or debunking, even skeptics admit that these show an impossible blend of conceptual mathematics and field execution under nighttime secrecy. It doesn't prove non human authorship, but it remains psychologically hard to reconcile with casual pranksters. And the last one, see rare measured anomalies in plant samples. A few peer reviewed studies by biophysicist W.C. Levengood and others claimed plant changes inconsistent with trampling, elongated nodes, expulsion cavities, altered germination rates. Independent scientists dispute the methodology, but some specific data sets, especially from the Hoven 1999 and Sharehill 1998 samples, show changes that haven't been perfectly reproduced under natural or mechanical conditions. Why it resists debunking? The original samples and chain of custody are lost. Replication attempts were inconclusive, so skeptics can't retest them and believers can't prove them, leaving a small scientific gray zone. And I guess there's one more. I apologize. The true irreducible core. If we're being brutally honest and scientific, here's what really can't be debunked, because it's not physical, it's behavioral and cultural. The consistent appearance of large-scale, mathematically perfect, anonymous land art executed overnight for decades without anyone ever being caught in the act. That is the one hard fact. That is the one hard fact that remains unexplained in purely practical terms. We know humans can do it, but after 40 plus years, not one has ever been filmed creating a major multi-100-foot design like Milk Hill in real time, start to finish under similar conditions. It's the logistical invisibility, not aliens, not energy beams, that truly keeps the debate alive.
It's crazy. I mean, it's definitely a good place to at least end this conversation for now. I feel like we could definitely do a part 2. Just because there's so much more we could go into. Yeah. I feel like that's a good place to kind of leave it. I mean, good little hook for audience, you guys, to kind of sit there and think about. What do you guys think? Definitely comment on this episode. We would love to hear your thoughts just about what you guys think crop circles are. Do you think they're extraterrestrial? Do you think they're made by humans? Do you think it's a psyop that government's doing this stuff to mess with us? And I don't know, just whatever theories that we might have talked about that you think would be good to put forth, let us know. We would always love to hear from you guys. So, yeah, no, I think we definitely need to do a part 2, without a doubt.
We do. And y'all, it was a lot of fun. Sorry, it's been a little bit busy lately. We took an extra week to get this episode out to you. But, there's more coming. We're going to make it to 100. And for those OGs that were there for maybe episodes 50 and 100, there might be something in it for you. So stick around, tell your friends, like it, save it, share it with some folks. And we love all you guys. It's always a fun time. And we'll be seeing you here in the very near future.
We're going to be hitting Dirt Nowitzki's episode 41. So till then, enjoy.
I was like, what? I was like, okay, this is his number. I get it.
He's number 41. Yeah. But, yep. All right, guys. Till next time.
Night, people. Peace out.